you can't outsource strategy. So the most important thing that every single law firm owner here has to, conceptualize, digest, embrace is that strategy is a $10,000 to arguably $50,000 an hour task, especially marketing strategy. When you look at the spectrum of high value decisions that a law firm owner can make, law firm marketing strategy is arguably the most important thing, because your marketing strategy ties into the perception of your brand, which ties into those that you attract for your firm. If your firm has no brand, you're probably not going to attract A players, right, to work for your firm. Your law firm's marketing strategy can also be a reflection of your firm's core competencies, right? So if you have doctor lawyers, right, that's a differentiated value proposition, which then gets brought to the front of your marketing and becomes a brand pillar of your firm, right? So not only does marketing strategy involve how you choose to market your firm, things like what kind of ads you run, what keywords you go into, what demographics you go into, what geographic areas you decide to target based on strategic insights you have about your market and your core competencies, but it's also a reflection of your core competencies, right? So businesses that are highly differentiated, that have a competitive moat around them, tend to be easier to market. Businesses that have no differentiators, that are just like every other firm in their market, it's harder to market that, right? There's less differentiation. The only way that you can compensate for a low differentiated model is social proof, content. You could have a not interesting criminal defense firm and have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and people will sign up with your law firm in very high rates, even if your firm has zero differentiation, because the perception of your front-end brand and the content you're putting out creates a differentiated value proposition, or the perception of that, right? So when we look at strategy, if strategy is something you must handle in-house, then what are the pillars of strategy? So the first pillar of strategy is what I call demand buckets. So I don't know what's going on. All right, so within strategy, you have demand buckets, right? Right? So what is a demand bucket? A demand bucket is a segment of the demand in your market, right? So how many of you know what the Google Ads keyword planner is? Give me a raise of hands. Not many. We have a whole training course on this in our online portal under the Grand Lawyer Marketing Plan. The Google Ads keyword planner has documented evidence of exactly how many times per month people in your market, you can select the geographic area, and it'll show you how many times per month different keywords in your market are typed in, specific terms, right? So there's 101 different demand buckets in every market, right? There's some markets, if you're a divorce lawyer, you have your family law demand bucket, people who express the need for a family law attorney. That's one bucket of demand. A second bucket of demand is people who express the need for a divorce lawyer. That's a second bucket of demand. And the third one is someone who expresses the need for a custody lawyer, right? Now, could someone who types in divorce lawyer also be looking for help with a custody problem, yes or no? Pretty common, right? Can someone who types in family law attorney actually mean custody lawyer? Right. So can someone who types in lawyer near me actually have a potential $10 million personal injury case without typing in the word accident or injury lawyer? Yes, right? So these demand buckets are so every consumer, when they have a need, they go through a period of anxiety when they're demanding legal services, and during that period of anxiety, they're searching for solutions to their anxiety, right? Part of the ways that they search for the solutions to their anxiety is through research terms. That would be something like how to file for divorce. Once they start educating themselves, they start going lower in the funnel, and they start typing in the lawyer keywords, right? So you have demand buckets by segment of case type, right? You have demand buckets by research intent and direct, what's called commercial intent by Google's terms. Commercial intent means they're intending to do commerce. So commercial intent terms are the most expensive terms on Google, right? So understanding your demand buckets it's probably one of the most important things you could ever do in your firm. Just like Mark Reel, for example, understanding the father's rights frame. He gets an 18-to-1 ROI on his ads. Just because he targets men and he talks to father's rights. Whereas every other divorce attorney who hasn't made that strategy decision, they just go, oh, we'll take any divorce case. So then all of their ads are less differentiated because they're speaking to no one, right? So this is a CEO decision, right? This is a decision that you have to make as the positioning of your firm as to what demand buckets you want to go into, which also ties into demo buckets, so demographic. So a lot of immigration attorneys I talk to here, it's very skewed in immigration. It's also skewed in criminal. A lot of the other practice, like family law, we know we want the higher 50% income brackets. PI, we know we want the lower 50% income brackets. There's clear signed case trends on each of those things. Immigration's across the board. And this is what my data showed, and I asked many immigration lawyers in the room throughout this week, what's your firm do? And everyone's like, well, there's niches, and we have different ways of targeting different types of clients, right? So demographic targeting decisions is another extremely high strategy decision, which ties into, do you want to target just men? Do you want to target just women? Do you want to target people in certain age brackets for a specific reason? Do you want to target specific age brackets for just this case type? Do you want to target specific income brackets for different case types as well? Like if you have, Lance and I talked about, if you have more expensive criminal defense case types that cost an average fee of over $15K, maybe your niche market for that is people who are in the top 30% income brackets so they can afford a fee of that size. Maybe for your scalable DUI practice, you're targeting any income bracket because people can shell together the 5K for the DUI, right? Maybe they can't shell together the 15 to 50K for a more severe case, right? So you're looking at your firm in these consumer demographic segments, right? And creating a picture in your mind for what that looks like, which, by the way, I talked to a lot of you about this throughout this week or throughout these days, and every single one of you already know this because you're an expert in it because you deal with your clients every single day, right? So you already know this information. What I'm probing you to do in your law firm strategy is to be decisive about it. You're not going to miss out on opportunity. You're not going to miss out on opportunity by not speaking to a segment of the market. You're actually going to increase your brand by not speaking to a segment of the market, right? So you have demographic buckets, right? You have geographic buckets, right? So you have demand bucket strategy, demographic, geo strategy, right? We run a couple criminal defense campaigns where we just run lawyer keywords around the town where there's a courthouse, right? So if there's a town where there's a courthouse, right, we'll just bid on that town name plus the word lawyer, right? We do this, I've mentioned this multiple times, this Westchester campaign, we just bid on Westchester lawyer, and then we position in the ads, a criminal defense, so that those are the most cases that come in. And I'm going to talk about that strategy in a second. But geographically speaking, right, if you target higher income people and you have intelligence in your market, you're going to know kind of what places you do want to target more and what places you don't want to target, right? So almost creating like a roadmap on strategy, right? Another one, which I always say, is your budget allocation, right? So for us, our highest budget allocation as a company is on social media ads. Before we did webinars, which I'm going to explain in a minute, before we did webinars, we didn't spend the most on social because we didn't have what's called the right conversion vehicle, right? We were trying to fit people into free consultations, and then we learned that promoting webinars was much easier to do on social media, right? So then once we learned that, we were spending all of our money on Google, right? On lawyer marketing keywords and stuff like that to market to lawyers. And then we pivoted our budget when we found something that worked. We still spent a lot of money on Google, but now we spend way more on social media, right? So allocating by platform, allocating by demand bucket, allocating by demographic bucket and geo bucket, this is where you become the resource allocator of your firm from a marketing perspective, and you really feel like you're pulling the levers on a macro perspective on, I'm gonna target this area with X% of my budget with this niche, right? You get really searingly clear when you segment this stuff out, right? So we have budget allocation, and then we have content strategy, right? Right? So you're either gonna spend money on things or you're gonna spend time putting out content, right? And by the way, your content strategy could be public speaking. That's a way of delivering content, right? There's content strategy, although the platform has changed with social media, content has always existed in marketing, right? Content, actually would technically be budget. It would fall. Anything you pay money for is budget allocation. I think the thing's blocking for everyone. Is that better? So it wasn't. All right. Yeah, it's on the screen. All right. I didn't want to be blocked by you, Trip. I wanted to make eye contact with you. Yes. So content strategy is anything free that you put out, right? Budget allocation is anything you pay money for, right? So in order to get clients, you have to either pay to be seen or you have to do things for free to be seen. And the method through which you deliver content, right? So let's say that you understand demand bucket 1 is a key strategy for your firm. Well, then you should be putting out content around demand bucket 1, right? Or you don't have, here's another big insight. What if you put out content to the demographic bucket? Everyone just catch what I said? Because all the lawyers are going after the demand bucket. So what if your goal is just to get, if you're a PI lawyer, why don't you just try to get the attention of all the lower 50% income bracket people in your entire market? Not worry about delivering personal injury content, right? By the way, this is what all the big spenders do, right? They're known by like Top Dog, who I'm very close with. His ads are all in the lowest income areas, right? And he's like the highest, him and Pon Lahaki are very close constantly in most signed cases in Philadelphia. But Top Dog has the most brand equity in Philadelphia. And he's not targeting any high income zip code at all because he understands his demographic strategy, right? So strategy. This is in-house, right? I get to see the most successful, I get to see the campaigns that do 5-to-1, and then I get to see the 18-to-1s, and it's always strategy. It's always the business that has the most differentiated strategy that wins. Everything else can be the same. Just the positioning of the ad is different. Just the positioning of the landing page different. 5-to-1, 18-to-1, right? It's literally night and day. And the beautiful thing about strategy, it's a $50,000 use of time because you can spend 1 hour on strategy and make $50,000 from it. It doesn't require a lot of time to do strategy. It doesn't require sweat to do strategy, right? It just requires you giving yourself the time and allowing yourself that white space to really think of your differentiated value prop, right? All right, so then within this, there's another concept which is called, so that's strategy. Number 2 is market limits, right? So there is a market limit in everything, right? And this is interesting because I met with, as I said, a lot of you here. Like, okay, if you're in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, right? And you want, let's say catastrophic birth injuries, and the population you're marketing within is 100,000 people, That's all I want. That's it. I only want these types of cases. Okay, great. The market limit's probably going to be like, you probably aren't going to be able to spend more than $500 a month in a 100,000 population on a niche that tight. There's probably not a lot of demand for birth injuries in a niche like that in a low population market, right? There's market constraints. It's not just about what you want, and then I'm just going to target that on Google, or I'm just going to target that on social media. There's market constraints, right? There's also platform constraints, right? So it's market and platform constraints, right? Right? So the thing I told you guys about LSAs that we found out on PI, that market constraint, that's a platform constraint, right? You could select the perfect categories on LSAs for PI. You could have 5,000 five-star reviews. You could set a $100,000 a week budget. But for some reason, there's an algorithmic platform constraint with local services ads delivery. Doesn't matter if you want leads from there. Doesn't matter, right? And the cool thing about marketing is it changes constantly, right? And your competitors aren't willing to embrace platform constraints, right? So I was talking to Sammy about this when we were stretching this morning for like 30 minutes. Yeah, that stretching routine's crazy though. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. So he was talking about, like, this is why I love Sammy's mindset, is like, a lot of the stuff, I mean, not a lot, I mean, maybe half of the things we initially launched for your firm didn't work. And you know how you looked at it? You said, oh, cool, we're running business law LSAs. These keywords don't work. What was the one that did work? Yeah, so trust, right? So he was running like 5 different demand buckets in LSAs. He looked at it from a macro perspective. And he said, as the CEO, he said, oh, wow, this demand bucket doesn't seem to be signing cases for my firm, which is the only information that I know as the CEO of the firm. Hey, you met with Sean, who's your person? Kevin. And went, hey, I'm not signing up cases from this demand bucket. It looks like we spent about X on it. Maybe we should turn off this demand bucket, but I did sign cases here. Let's scale up our ad spend here, right? Because you were on top of it, right? From a signed case perspective, right? And now your ROI is crushing it, right? So understanding a platform limit, like LSAs, for example, you do business law keywords or whatever keywords that you originally did. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it works great, business law keywords in your market on PPC. Great, let's experiment with that, right? Maybe business litigation works as a niche within business law, and you learn that through the initial market data, right? And so when you understand marketplace limits, there's this learning mode that you get put into, and you understand that you make assumptions whenever you launch any marketing campaign, right? And at least half of your assumptions, if you're a human, half of your assumptions are going to be wrong when you launch a marketing campaign, right? Because every market's different. Every firm's differentiation is different. Every firm's brand is different. Every firm's reviews are different. There's too many variables. There is no magic pill. The closest thing to a magic pill is just guaranteed cost per case, and companies exist for that. And some people succeed with guaranteed cost per case companies that you buy cases from and sign leads from. That's fine, but if you want to control your own marketing, those guarantees don't exist, right? So there are market limits in terms of demand. Another example of this is if you're in the middle of nowhere and you want car accident cases, this is a recent piece of data that we're learning, you're probably off just targeting general lawyer near me keywords or lawyer plus town name keywords, because there's not a lot of demand in low population areas for car accident lawyer. Psychologically, there's a market limit in low population areas, right? If you're in a low population area, which most of you aren't, psychologically, the marketplace is searching for a lawyer that's within not too far from them. If you're in a state where every town is 50 miles away from one another, and I'm at this town, well, I'm not looking for a personal injury lawyer. I'm looking for a lawyer near me. That's my actual need, because I don't want to have to, in my mind, whether I have to drive to the firm or not, perceptually, my need is to find a lawyer that's near me, so I don't have to drive 50 miles. So that's my dominant buying motive, which then drives what I search into Google, right? So that's a market limit in certain areas, right? If you're the opposite, you're in a highly competitive geographic area, right? And you only want this case type, but the cost per click for that case type is $250, right? There's going to be a market limit there. There is no magic pill that can happen to avoid a publicly, one of the largest market cap companies in the world's bidding system, right? So therefore, there's arbitrage opportunities, which I'm going to go into in a little bit. So understanding limits. There's limits to what every platform can do. There's limits to what every market can withhold in terms of demand. And understanding those are absolutely vital. And listening, because the market is the best teacher. Your market is the best teacher for your firm. The market will always give you the best education, right? So, number 3 is communicating strategy, right? So communicating strategy, this one's pretty simple. It really ties together some of the prior concepts that I just said. It's one thing for you to have a strategy. It's another thing for you to communicate the strategy. So these are things around, like I said, demographics, demand buckets, all the stuff that I just broke down. It could be anything I just broke down, combined with, I want everyone to write this down, local knowledge. Local knowledge. Unfortunately, a marketing company can never know every piece of hyper-local knowledge relevant to your practice area, right? So there are certain, like for example, there's this bus chain in Philadelphia called SEPTA. The local train in Philadelphia is called Amtrak, right? If I was talking to someone in California, they would not know what SEPTA is, right? So a local Philadelphia attorney can bid on a keyword like SEPTA lawyer, and the cost per click for that is very low. But every jurisdiction is different. Sometimes bus cases are not good in some jurisdictions. Others, they're great, right? Which ties into your unique knowledge, right? It's one thing for a marketing company to say, you can get cheap leads here, right? And we're just going to launch it. But if they're bad case types, only you will know that, right? So local knowledge is the only thing I want to add here because we see huge wins when it comes to local knowledge, right? Is there a specific law in your market that is top of mind for people in your niche that only they would type in if they were in your market? Is there a specific form that gets delivered to someone when X happens that's only local to your market, right? Is there a military base in your market and therefore there's a higher volume of military type cases in X niche, right? Like there's unlimited variables for every single market. There's a campaign, another client of ours it's probably the highest ROI criminal defense social media campaign that we run, which criminal is very hard on social. And he gave us one insight. He's in smack dab the center of 3 different college campuses. So he said, I want to target college campus DUIs. So we geo-fenced the colleges. We made the messaging to the colleges that he told us he wanted to target. And it's about avoiding college campus DUIs, pitfalls of college campus DUIs. He's become omnipresent in these college campuses through a social campaign, right? And his spend is so low because the geo radius is so small for these, right? So, but he knows that that's a scalable piece of his practice, which is why he was able with confidence to say, this is my social strategy. This is what I want to target, right? So local knowledge. Okay? Number 4 is, which ties into strategy, is what I call demand intelligence, which ties into the demand buckets. Okay? Demand intelligence is your high intents. I'll break all these down. So, demand intelligence is understanding keyword psychology, which again is probably the most powerful part of the Grand Lawyer Marketing Plan, the course I keep telling you about, which is in your portal for free. So, high intent terms, right? High intent terms in any practice area, these are terms that, divorce lawyer near me. High intent term, also known as commercial intent. Car accident lawyer, family law attorney, estate planning lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, right? Take any practice area plus the word lawyer, typically that's going to be a high intent term, right? So those are the simple terms to understand. They're also the highest converting terms. So you're going to have less intake nightmares if you target high intent terms. And because of that, they're the most expensive terms because they are typically the best terms to spend money on from a conversion perspective, right? Most people aren't willing to solve intake, most attorneys, so they will not do things outside of the box that cause a hiccup on their intake process. So they react by saying, those leads are tire kickers. Those leads aren't legit, right? This is where demand intelligence gets really exciting. So lawyer keywords. So I mentioned this briefly in the criminal defense example. Understanding, if you're in a market that has what I would call a mix of tier C cities, so not tier B, so lower population areas, you can just target the word lawyer plus a city name with a tighter geographic radius, right? And then in the headline of your ad, you can say injury lawyers or accident lawyers in the headline of the ad, right? Or whatever your practice area is, so that people who don't have a case like that won't click the ad, but your ad will still show up for people who are typing in just the lawyer keywords, right? This same thing we see work on local services ads, right? So in local services ads, there's a category that's called general law. Now, most people in their right mind would never select general law as a category, right? And I was doing some fun searching out here. 2 big accident firms in Arizona. I typed in lawyer near me, and boom, both of their ads show up on LSAs. And in the headline of both of their LSA profiles, it says, Joe Schmo, accident attorneys. So they've actually created a DBA, doing business as, for their firm, and renamed their firms to have their practice area in the actual name of their firm. So that now, because on local services ads, your firm's name is the headline of the ad. So you can show your ads for lawyer keywords and then pre-qualify who clicks that ad, right, through the name of your business. And that expands the pool that you're able to get in front of on local services ads. How many of you want to guess what's the cost per lead? Let's get a microphone back to Gary over there. What's the cost per lead on a general law lead versus a practice area intent lead? Okay? We're talking PI, $500 versus 10 or 15 bucks, right? Are you going to get people calling you when they type in lawyer near me, even if the name of your firm says accident or estate plan or whatever are you going to get the wrong calls, yes or no? Yes. Inevitably, if someone types in lawyer near me, they still could mean family law attorney. They still may not have fully read the headline of your ad. It still may not have prevented them from clicking the ad. So you're going to get some unqualified leads, right? So these lawyer keywords, if your intake team is ready for it, can become a referral generator for your firm, can become a low cost per signed case. When you get cases outside of your practice area, you now can spread the goods, right? And build more relationships in your market and other practice areas. Go ahead, Gary.
How would you do the DBA with your firm name? Say The Medellin criminal law firm or different?
Right.
How would you say that?
You would keep Medellin law firm, comma, or a vertical line I've seen people do. Like, I forget what they're called, but like, you know what I mean? Like a vertical line,
yeah.
right? And then criminal defense law firm.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Or even just criminal defense you could just do. You would want it to be, if you have a long firm name, you'd have to condense the name of your firm. You want it to all show up on one line. So if your firm's 1,500 characters and they can't see criminal defense because it runs over the page, especially on mobile. So just look at how small local services ads are on mobile devices, and you'll see how long your business name would have to be for this. You can do this on LSAs. You can do this on general search campaigns as well. But this is why I said the experimental thing yesterday, you're going to get unqualified leads. But your cost per lead is going to be so much lower that overall your cost per signed case should be lower, right? So understanding demand intelligence, right, around lawyer keywords, around research keywords, right? So some people, like when you hit a market cap in a niche, market cap basically means you can't spend any more on this bucket, right? So PI runs into that a lot in LSAs, but some of you can't spend any more on a certain thing. Raise of hands if anyone's ever run into that. Market cap? Yeah. So you were telling me today in the gym that you can't spend more than $7,500 a month on the niche that we were talking about, right? So once you hit a market cap, because you've chosen a tight enough niche and you're dominating that niche, but it's such a tight niche, there's not 1 million searches a month for it. You're gonna run out of demand. There's not enough people typing in this niche term, right? So therefore, you need to expand somehow. You can expand into lawyer or you can expand into research terms. So research terms are all the expert things you know, right, about your practice area that people type in right before they know they need a lawyer, right? So keywords like car accident plus an injury type. Like there's a lot of demand for neck hurt after car accident, right? There's car accident settlement payout amounts, right? Which don't include the word lawyer. How to file divorce, divorce laws, divorce pros and cons, this, that, right? I know, actually, Anita, when I personally built your Google Ads campaign, by the way. I cold called Anita, I think 5 years ago, when I had, 4 employees. So, and I built her campaign, and I put how to file divorce as the only research term in that campaign, and still 5 years later, that's like her very high performing ad group in her campaign. And that's just one research term, right? So finding a couple, now again, your cost per lead is gonna be lower. You're noticing a trend here? Your cost per lead is gonna be lower for that, but what's also gonna be lower? Your conversion rate. The quality is gonna be lower, right? Why? Because you're getting leads from people who are more top of funnel, still in the research phase. So if you're gonna launch a strategy like this and then X days later go, our intake conversion rate dropped X%, right? Don't freak out. Just look at the cost versus the return of doing a strategy like this, right? There are so many research intent terms, but most intake teams are not able to handle research intent terms. So most times when we launch research intent terms, we get complaints from our clients, which then causes my team to go, well, we'll just go back into the high intent terms, right? So I'm trying to create a movement now of education around this because we're starting to see that the firms that do have this intake system set up for things like this, they're a big opportunity and a low cost per case. Competitor terms, I already broke this down, right? Bidding on the names of your law firm's competitors in your market, just the ones you hate, right? Taking 5 big advertisers in your market, bidding on their name and showing your law firm's firm name when someone types in your competitor's law firm's name. Yes, you're gonna get some cease and desist, okay? And yes, someone pointed out that in certain states you have to look this up. I've seen in most states it's allowed as long as you don't misrepresent yourself. And then different language campaigns, right? You know your demographic. We notice that different language campaigns are typically half the cost per signed case if you go into a different language. But the reason someone searches in a different language is because they're expecting to deal with people that can handle them. So if your team cannot handle them, yes, you may sign some cases, but you're eventually going to lose the client, piss off the client. So that is something where you don't want to dupe people, because eventually it's going to cause frustration in the client. The reason they're typing in Spanish is because that's their first language. They're not doing it for fun. They're doing it because that's their first language, right? So you have to be able to handle Spanish clients. And it's something you can experiment with to see how many of them are bilingual, like good enough for you to handle in English. But it's half the cost per case across the board to do things like that. So understanding demand intelligence, very, very important concept, which ties into your demographic information. Okay, social ads at scale. This is number 5, understanding social ads at scale. So, most times when we launch social media campaigns, because most areas of law are not direct conversion vehicles on social. Most times when we launch a social campaign, it's not someone's on the toilet, they see your ad, they immediately drop, they don't even finish pooping, and they call your firm. Doesn't happen, because social's an interruption. So most times they're going to convert off of social, because they don't log into social to contact somebody. So the entire buyer intent of social is not somebody looking to call a lawyer. But the most attention by far is on social, right? So if you keep telling yourself that social is a low ROI, social doesn't work, you're just missing out on the most attention in your market at the lowest cost per attention unit. Lower than all the other strategies I just broke down on the demand buckets. Like exponentially lower. Do you think billboard lawyers who spend millions on billboards go, well, we're taking all the billboards down. No one slammed on their brakes in the middle of the highway today and called us from the billboard. Nope, no ROI. Yes or no? No, right? So embracing the psychology of bigger advertisers on social will transform your firm. So there's really 3 things I want to break down on this. Number 1 is what I call hyperlocal domination. So hyperlocal domination is basically just becoming the most known lawyer in your backyard. Tight geofence, funny videos that have nothing to do with your practice area, just becoming the likable attorney in your backyard. Now, if you want to go into this, what's my cost per signed case on this? Well, no, I'm turning it off immediately. Don't do it, okay? This is meant for brand. Right? This is meant for top-of-mind awareness. You are not going to convert signed cases from this. You are going to build what's called your branded search. Branded search is how many times per month people type in the name of your law firm. Right? You want to become more known? The lowest cost per signed case, actually, on all the Google campaigns we run, is branded search. It's your law firm's name, because those are people who actually want to hire your firm. So the more people who know your firm, the lower your cost per signed case is going to be on the back end, because they're just going to search out your firm in the first place, right? So hyperlocal something fun, something local, something everyone can relate to. You're the guy, you're the girl, right? In your local market, right? Next one is YouTube retargeting. Same exact thing. Oftentimes, the things that produce the lowest ROI on the front end are the things that produce the highest overall ROI, right? So you're not going to get a lot of people converting directly on YouTube, right? YouTube is not as good a conversion vehicle, we found, as social. Social has made it so easy to convert in-app. People are used to submitting their information on Facebook way more than they are on YouTube. It's very rare that you're going to see someone fill out a form on a YouTube ad. because it feels more of a pattern interrupt because it's not embedded into the platform like social. When you go into a Facebook ad, it's in the app. It feels like you're doing it in the app, right? YouTube, you click an ad and then you're brought to a different page. It doesn't feel like it's in the app, therefore people don't convert as much on YouTube. But YouTube has a huge advantage over Google. Google owns YouTube. Every single keyword that's typed in on Google is stored within YouTube. So the words that people type in on Google can become a qualifier for you to show ads to people on YouTube who typed in those words, even if you don't show ads to them on Google. So if someone typed in car accident lawyer in your market, you can show a YouTube ad to every single person who typed in those keywords in Google. Not is interested in that bucket. No, people who actually typed in that keyword on Google. You can show an ad to them based on what they typed in on Google. You can insert all of your competitors' URLs into your YouTube ads, which our team can do for you. But again, you're not going to get front-end leads from this. You're going to get back-end leads from this, right? So YouTube retargeting is putting all of your competitors' URLs in, putting all of the highest converting keywords in, and then showing YouTube ads to people based on what they typed in on Google. And the other thing is you can show YouTube ads to people who are likely to have visited your competitors' websites. So you can upload 15, 20 of your competitors' law firms' website URLs, and then you can show YouTube ads to those people, right? So you're not going to get immediate conversions from this, but here's the magic. Ready? You're getting in front of a high-intent market, people based on what they typed in and the websites they visited, pretty relevant, right? You don't want them to convert. All you want them to do is click the ad. When they click the ad, they're brought to a landing page. On that landing page, there's a pixel. That pixel then allows you to retarget on social. So you can then retarget that person that you know is in market, and then they're going to convert on social. So your YouTube campaigns are going to show a 0 goose egg ROI, but your retargeting campaign on social media, primarily Facebook and Instagram retargeting, is going to show an increase in leads and signed cases, right? So that's YouTube retargeting as a social ads at scale strategy. And then number 3 is understanding your conversion mechanism. Like I said, before we did webinars, nothing worked on social for us, at least perceived nothing worked, right? Which is a very limited way of thinking. So I should take back what I said. Conversion mechanism changed when we started doing webinars, right? Conversion mechanism could be for you a free case value calculator. A free, what was the dominant need? Not get charged. Charge avoidance likelihood lead magnet, right? What's the chance you'll get charged, right? Whatever the dominant need is in your niche, making a conversion mechanism around that need, right? Because the conversion mechanism is a differentiator on social. And these are all things we can work on with you. We're just trying to be more innovative, I think, in a lot of the strategies that we're working with on the firms that we work with some of these things we're noticing from the data. Number 6, this one's very simple and quick. Signed case data. I already mentioned this yesterday. So most of you have been reached out to. If you haven't, just email coaching@smbteam.com. We want your signed case data. We want to see your signed cases for however long you've been working with us, and we want to compare it to our form submission and call rail data so that we can tell you with statistical significance what is generating signed cases and what is not generating signed cases. We can also report cross-channel attribution. We can tell you, hey, this person has submitted their info on LSAs, but then they came in through your Google business profile, right? Which then can show you the true ROI, which leads to point number 7, which is cross-channel understanding. right? So cross-channel understanding. This is probably one of the biggest differences in the attorneys that are more successful in marketing versus those that aren't, is they understand that not every single advertising channel is going to convert at the first touch point, right? Like, everyone's checking out your firm's reviews. Most of your firm's leads are either gonna come through local services ads, in most cases, because your reviews are bolted onto that, or you're clicking through your Google Business Profile, which either can be a call from your Google Business Profile or a call from your actual website, right? PPC, traditional Google ads, is always gonna be, I would say, in most cases, is gonna be a lower ROI by perception than local services ads. Currently, in the current landscape, right? And that's at face value. That's on last touch attribution. That's only looking at the people who immediately converted through a PPC ad. That's not tracking the people who clicked your PPC ad, became aware of your law firm, Googled a little bit more, and then saw your firm pop up in LSAs again, and well, oh, I just saw that firm, and then goes, well, let me look up their reviews, XYZ law firm reviews, boom, clicks on your profile, then calls through your main business line, and it's never tracked as a lead, right? So understanding cross-channel attribution disciplines you to track all of your marketing ROI on a holistic basis, right? Is the tide going up, right? That's the biggest question to discipline ourselves to really focus on is the tide rising, right? And if not, it's a strategy problem, right? And that's exciting. Own it, let's face it, let's build a new strategy, right? So cross-channel understanding, okay? Especially what you do offline ties into cross-channel. And last but not least is automated follow-up, which I meant to mention yesterday. So we want to build a solution to this because we're aware this is a big challenge for a lot of you. And thank you again for this. But this is something that, because I talked to Joe, who's in PI, gets a 10-to-1 ROI from his Google Ads campaigns, and he has automated lead follow-up, just like Joe, you were talking about. And so we have a lead spreadsheet, right? And he has Litify, and actually found out after the fact that he's plugging the lead spreadsheet that we send into Litify, which then sends an automation to the leads that come in, and immediately when a lead comes in, they get a video text from him, the owner of the law firm, saying, welcome to the Joe Tunstall family, da-da-da-da-da, and then merging it with what you said, imagine AI-based follow-up to book the appointment, right? All within seconds. Automated follow-up, right? So I really want to challenge everyone as a key business strategy for your firm, figure out a way to bolt automated lead follow. We're going to work on it for sure as a company, but until we have some thing that we can roll out for everyone, which maybe will happen a week, it's definitely something to look into because the more you spend on marketing, the more follow-up is going to be make or break for your firm's ROI, right? So all of these things are internal, right? These are the things that the strategist CEO, right? So this is your internal focus, right? And when your internal focus is clear, your strategy with external equals clear, right? So what I noticed kind of in summary, one of the biggest problems that I noticed with marketing is abdication. Not delegation, abdication, right? So if you look at the average number of marketing companies that a law firm owner works with and the duration of them running a firm, the average that I saw it's a study across multiple different verticals, not just law firm marketing, but it was about 13 agencies, right? And for some people it's higher than that, for some people it's lower than that. And I think the reason for that is maybe people are looking for agencies to create their firm's strategy, right? But your firm's strategy is a CEO job, right? So we want to collaborate with you on that strategy, and we're willing to get creative and custom with you on that strategy, but you can't abdicate marketing strategy when it's, and I've interviewed all the biggest law firm owners in the United States, not one of them abdicates marketing strategy. Okay, they're obsessed with every granular. I could talk to the owners of Pala Hockey, and they're like, yep, we know exactly this keyword produced 1,244 signed cases, per hour. They know every single data piece of every piece of their marketing. Like, it's insane, right? So every single time I'm trying to pull you away from the legal work and into marketing absorption, because it constantly changes. So the only evergreen truth is that you'll always, when you're growing your firm, you'll always have to be obsessed with marketing.